My
Nice.
son comes into the room with this thing in his mouth that's like glowing. I mean, I did not know what this was, that it was connected to you in any way. And once I found out that you're the guy behind this snow product, I was like, what is happening right now? Welcome to the AZ Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Hamid Chojai. Arizona's tech ecosystem is rapidly growing with incredible companies that are shaping our future. Every week, I sit down and talk with some of the people who are making an impact in this critical sector of Arizona's economy. All right, let's go. All right, I'm here with Josh Snow, founder and CEO of Snow, a direct-to-consumer company that creates teeth whitening products. Hey, Josh.
Hi, Hamid. How's it going?
Good. How are you, man?
Good. It's been a while. It's good to see you again, and thanks for inviting me on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure. Thanks for coming. And holy cow, what an incredible success Snow has been. The last time I saw you, I think it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago at the most. Mm-hmm. And I think you were just talking about a consumer product that potentially anybody could use that you were excited about. It hadn't like really taken off yet. And then the other day, I see my wife had multiple boxes of Snow products, which is the teeth whitening products. And my son comes into the room with this thing in his mouth that's like glowing. I mean, I did not know what this was, that it was connected to you in any way. And once I found out that you're the guy behind this Snow product, I was like, what is happening right now? So I want to learn all about that. So we're going to go into that. And I know you had previously done some startups, even 4 or 5 years ago when I met you. Where do you want to start? You want to start talking about Snow first?
I think, I mean, there's a lot to unpack. I mean, Snow is not my only brand, but it's the one that is kind of open sourced, so to speak. I decided a few years ago to start sharing kind of voyeuristically inside of, we watch the Food Network channel because we watch people make food. You watch esports because you watch others play sports. You go to a football game because you watch other people get beat up, not you. And I said, we don't really have enough business television. There's Shark Tank, which is a phenomenal show, The Profit, et cetera. But there's not a ton beyond podcasts and some shows that come here and there in terms of really seeing a David versus Goliath story while it's happening, kind of like a choose your own adventure book. Right. So I feel like there's a lot to talk about on the Snow side. I really kind of look at my life now in two big gaps. It's our two big sections. I started my first business at 13, which was in web programming, website development, blog development, then eventually search engine optimization, because that was the only thing I could afford because I started with absolutely nothing. And SEO is free, ranking on Google. So I said, I have to be the best at search engine optimization if I'm going to be successful, because I'm 14 years old and I don't have more than $100. So I had to figure it out. And by figuring that out, then started an agency. And the agency was great because it provided cash flow, but it also gave me insight into a lot of different business models. It allowed me to spend other people's money to learn how to acquire customers online at scale. And then naturally from that point, I was still in high school. Then I went to college. And by that point, I started to partner with some of my clients in kind of taking their business online from the e-commerce side of things. And that started to evolve, but I was always working on my own projects on the side. And I started to involve my team from the agency working on those projects. And I realized that I was much more excited working on those projects than working on the client accounts. Right. And so I noticed that my team was starting to feel that way as well. And so we started to really say, okay, we got to draw a fork in the road and decide what we want to do. And that was almost 10 years ago that we decided to go into brand building and to move away from the agency world. And it didn't happen overnight. And then that started my quest of brand building and really seeing from the ground up, how could I build physical product brands, digital brands, SaaS brands, and utilize my style of marketing to see where it would work. And selfishly, I think I'm still playing with that. I kind of feel like Harry Potter with a wand, and I want to see.
It's such an incredible story. So first, let me like set the tone for people who might not know. Talk about the numbers for Snow. Like I know you guys have. Well, I'll let you tell it.
So we have
revenue.
Revenue. So we bootstrapped the first $100 million in sales. We've sold over a million.
And how long did that take, by the way?
So Snow's about to be 5 years old.
Okay, so 100 million, more than 100 million in less than 5 years.
Correct, and we're scheduled to do over that just this year alone online. So
that's incredible.
It's
direct to consumer.
Direct to consumer. We are in every single Best Buy. We built a category with Best Buy. We came to them with an idea that we believe because we created a way for you to plug it into your phone, since they sell phones there, that there should be a teeth whitening category. So we're in every Best Buy in North America. We're in every Bed Bath & Beyond. We're in nearly all the Walgreens stores, and we're also partnered with Target on their .com property. But still, the overwhelming majority of our sales comes directly through Shopify and our Shopify sites. So as you can imagine, we've got millions of records of data, which allows us to build a relationship with the customer.
Right.
And for example, just with our SMS text messaging, we make over $1 million a month just texting our customers.
Holy cow. So when you say make $1 million a month, what do you mean?
Revenue sales. So, those are existing customers.
Like send a promotion.
Send a promotion, hey, we're running a sale this week, or we got a new product launch. Depending on what segment of list that they're on, they're getting notifications from us a couple times a week. And so those, we didn't even have an SMS text messaging program maybe a year and a half ago. Now our SMS channel is 1/3 the size of email in terms of how many contacts we have. But it actually is producing, it actually broke the number for email. So SMS has higher open rates, and you can click it. They're on their mobile device. But that we have millions of followers on social media, at Snow on Instagram. We're launching our kids line at Frost on Instagram as well.
That's such a great name too.
Do you like the Frost one? Yeah, Frost by Snow. That one, I've never. We put a lot of work into it, and it was really a crazy concept initially. And I kind of came to the table and I said, Arctic animals in space, like galactic Arctic animals.
Right.
And everybody looked at me like I was crazy, like they normally do. And then I've got an incredible team, and they put something together. They took my vision and made it better, brought it to life, and we're launching next month. We have huge celebrity partners, including the #1 talk show, a daytime talk show host, Ellen, which we're partners with. We were just on for Snow. So we got a lot of exciting stuff, but it comes down to, in terms of the numbers, we have millions of followers, millions of fans. We sold over 1 million teeth whitening kits. And when I started the business, they said, there's no way you can charge $150 for a whitening kit. I go, well, that's not true, because people aren't happy at the lower end, and they're not really happy at the higher end, which is $500 plus.
At the dentist.
If I can find something that is still affordable, approachable, and accessible, but much more efficacious and reliable, that eventually people would say it's worth it, because they're looking for a result. And to say that someone wouldn't pay $150 for a better experience is not true. And now that we've sold $1 million, which is why I shied away from VC money.
Million units.
1 million units of that product that a lot of people said wasn't going to sell 1,000 of them because of the price point. But we along with our customers have proven them wrong. Customers will pay more for something better.
So now so first of all, you did the first 100 million in revenue organically, and you grew profitably, I presume. Mm-hmm. And now you're getting approached by VCs. Have you already signed something or raised money?
It's hard because we now have a roaring subscription business. And, what
are people buying on a subscription basis?
Toothpaste. So never worry about buying toothpaste again in your life. Try snow.com.
What a freaking brilliant idea. People did the Dollar Shave Club, and this is totally right up the alley of that, right? Like,
Absolutely.
All these consumer products, like shampoo is next, right? Like on a subscription
there's
basis.
What else do people do? Man, women, child, 7 billion plus, 2 times a day, or should be doing 2 times a day, other than eating, going to the restroom, and that's about it.
Right.
So it's actually one of the highest addressable markets in the world. It's anyone who has teeth, 1 tooth, baby teeth, we got it. So the lifetime value from age 2 to 102, hopefully, that's why we're in the long-term brand building business, because we want someone to brush with us on our toothpaste, use our mouthwash, use our floss, hopefully use some of our whitening products like our kit or our strips. And so we're trying to make it easy for the customer to have a chance to upgrade their oral care routine to us and every aspect of that oral care routine. But we're also unique, I think, in the sense that I wanted to merge beauty and personal care inside of the oral care category.
Right.
And so from the beginning, we've always thought about things like our celebrity partners, our marketing, our packaging, very Apple-esque in some of our packaging. And, that's deliberate because that's the one thing that you feel bad about throwing the packaging away for. And there's something there, right? And so we said the number one goal for our packaging efforts is we want customers to feel bad about throwing it away, but we don't want to waste in terms of just having a lot of paper products. Can we be sustainable? Can we be thoughtful? But can we also still be a luxury premium positioned brand where people feel like they've invested into something that's going to last, and it's got to last? So that was it. I always believe that there's a market. There's always a market for best products and best value and best service. And I said, you know what? Even if we're halfway right, it's a large market.
Yeah, that's incredible. So now you are talking to VCs. What are the type of valuations that is this being valued at $1 billion plus now as a result of the sort of where you guys are at when people are throwing money at you, or what are the types of terms that you're looking at?
Well, I'll give you the best example I can give is my buddy Paul from Manscaped. They're looking at doing a $1.4 billion SPAC, and they've got a great business. They're a bit bigger than us. They've got more subscribers than us. They've got they've done such a great job of scaling that business. But I will say that currently our addressable market is much larger than that. We're not just selling to men over 18 or people who kind of grooming. Obviously Paul's got a master plan there, and it's going to be a huge multi-billion dollar business. But for Snow, we have a much longer lifetime with our customers. It's a much more personal connection. When you have your kids using our products, you're using our products. It's really a family type of scenario. And I feel like if we keep growing the way we are, there might be an opportunity to potentially look at going public and giving our customers the opportunity. Our customers have been our investors since day one. Yeah. They just don't own any equity. And so that might be an opportunity to say, hey, I own a piece of the company that we brush with every day, and that toothpaste. And we hope that will drive not just customer loyalty, but investor loyalty as well. So perhaps that's a path down the line. Today, the valuations on the VC side aren't there for us just yet. The reason why is our subscription business is still pretty new. It's incredible, and it's going to be a monster, but it's still nascent. Yeah. There are our retail channels. We just got access to all of these retailers. They love us. We have 100% sell-through. We sell through every product we give them. We sell out of product, actually. So there's a lot of meat on the bone still. And so I think that the equilibrium is still much more balanced in favor of me producing that value, that enterprise value. It's a lot cheaper for me to produce the enterprise value right now, right before some type of growth round or something like that. So we're also profitable. You don't
need to sort of like you're not in a rush to try to raise money, or
right. Not in a rush. Although we do love the idea of vertical integration. We love the idea of partnering with some of our quote unquote competitors, and the addressable market is virtually infinite, and it doesn't have to be a Snow named product in Brazil that is dominating, and locally it can be another brand of ours. But I think that we really have a 50-year roadmap, which is just country by country by country. If you look at Colgate, Crest, they have a very large international business. So I think as long as
Colgate and Crest are like owned by this, is it Procter and Gamble, or who
Crest is owned by Procter and Gamble, and Colgate is owned by Colgate Palmolive.
So really, this could be long term. Like the 50-year plan for this thing could be like a general consumer-oriented brand that could have a variety of different products. Is that how you're thinking about it?
We're going to start with oral in the mouth and around the mouth, and see how big we can get it 5 years from now. We're doubling. We doubled our business last year. We'll more than double our business this year. We're forecasted to double our business again next year. We're extremely profitable. Now we've invested so much. We've spent over $50 million in online advertising. Half of America has seen our ads more than 10 times.
That's incredible.
So, in terms of penetration, in terms of penetrating the market online, people have seen Snow. We've actually created a whole underbelly of counterfeits and knockoffs that we're constantly trying to battle, just because we are, from an online perspective, if you look at Google search trends, teeth whitening kit and Snow teeth whitening, you see that when we increase our ad spend, the entire market benefits. So we really have a stronghold there. We have millions of monthly shoppers. So I think that we want to potentially leverage that platform to really be able to cater to every segment of the market. Right now, Snow is like, they call us the Apple of oral care, and that's great, but that also comes with accessibility. And so what is going to be our accessible option?
Right.
And is it going to be, Polo by Ralph Lauren, or is it Purple Label by Ralph Lauren, or is it completely something else, The Gap? And so I think that for us, we know what we're really good at. I've been doing it for 15 years, customer acquisition, distribution, marketing, branding, celebrity partnerships, the list goes on. We also have a very capital efficient model that I think is extremely investable. So I think we will be ready to have those conversations more intimately, probably next year in terms of growth capital. But we're in a position where we're trying to decide how much growth are we sacrificing by not having substantial access to capital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, now that we've established what a ridiculous success story Snow is, which it's absolutely mind-blowing. Let's go back to how you built this company, because I know it's been very deliberate, and I know you did. You already talked about how you started like learning about the SEO and all the sort of skills that you needed to have. You were sort of set up in a perfect sort of set of sequences of events for you to be able to launch Snow and build a $100 million plus revenue company that might become a multi-billion-dollar success story. So tell us how you started Snow, and then like what were the sort of key areas of propulsion to success, right? Like what did you first do? If somebody wanted to sort of like, okay, what's the handbook on this? Spill all the secrets. And I know you're very open to spilling the secrets. So
oh yeah, that's my thing. We have a lot of mutual friends, but JT and Dehi from Tuft & Needle in 2012, we were in the office in Mill Avenue, and we were working on a few different projects, and they were starting to work on Tuft & Needle in the office. And so the whole plan there was for us to follow the money, put it out there, see if people resonated with it, and follow the money, whatever made sense and was converting, that we would just follow in that direction. And so with Snow, it was a little bit, and I'm bringing that story up because I had a little bit of that same kind of theory in the beginning was, let's see. It had been brewing in my mind. I'd been whitening my teeth since I was 13 years old. So like I'm very familiar with the teeth whitening space, and as a consumer at least. And I had been in braces twice, and I was undergoing jaw surgery and during that time. And undergoing jaw surgery gave me an opportunity to really spend time researching the oral care market. And I was also, I'm a bit hypochondriac, so I was buying all kinds of stuff online so that I would heal faster. Because it was during the summer, and I've got a summer program with the Fleischer Foundation, and so we fly around and meet with the kids during the summer, and so I wanted to heal super fast. So I was buying all this stuff, and I remember looking at all the stuff on my counter, and I said, "Wow, there's to me nothing really inspiring here." Where if I would have went to Sephora or Neiman Marcus in the beauty department and I bought a bunch of stuff, laid it on a counter, you'd be like, "What's this? Ooh." There was no oohs and ahs, yet everybody does it 2 times a day. Nobody knows what's in their toothpaste. Nobody questions it. They just shove it in their mouth and go at it. Most people aren't correctly brushing their teeth every day. I'm guilty of it. By the way, I'm guilty of like 99% of these things. And we wanted to look at it and say, how could we, in the very beginning, I was like, it was just me thinking in my head, okay, a lot of people have teeth. This is probably the most difficult out of 1,000 industries that I could have went into direct to consumer. I still believe that it was still one of the hardest because it's a commodity, right? Toothpaste. When's the last time you said, hey, honey, we got to cut back on toothpaste? It's getting pricey. You never comment on the price of toothpaste. You never comment on really not much, right? It's just there. Everybody just buys it. Everybody does it. It's the number one sold retail product, 711 million tubes. Number 2 is deodorant. Number 6 is soap. The number one. So in the world. So I said, okay, well, there are these large companies at the top that are serving the market. So they are serving the market. They have great products. They have thousands of SKUs sometimes. But I felt like for me as a consumer, if I wanted something that I felt was better, or I believed was better because it had something that I was looking for, perhaps an alternative to fluoride as an adult, I want to see that. I want it accessible. And really at the end of the day, at least in America, people want whiter teeth. And so if you can give them what they want, or sell them what they want, give them what they need, what do they want? White teeth. Well, someone who invests $100 into a system to whiten their teeth is probably is committing, at least in that way, indirectly, to taking care of their oral hygiene better. And so we want to support them in that. But if it doesn't have whitening attached to it, a lot of people they want multiple benefits. And, I don't want to have to use one toothpaste for this, one toothpaste for this. I want to have something that's made for me. And so in the beginning, after undergoing jaw surgery, sitting in bed for, 2 weeks straight, with my jaw practically wired shut, I was researching and I was thinking, and I said, wow, I wonder if, why isn't oral care a part of the cosmetic discussion? Why are these products not available at Sephora, Ulta, Neiman Marcus? Because they don't fit in. They just, from the DNA, the modern day consumer is really, really smart, has infinite tools at their fingertips. They can smell when the DNA of a brand is authentic. And they can smell that celebrities actually use this versus they were paid to use this. Right. And so that's why we put so much time. And I think the timing for me was right too. I had enough experience from 13 years old of also as a consumer, making my first $1 million at 17, I like nice things. So by buying nice things, I learned to recognize the attention to detail. And that sounds, I don't even know what that sounds like, but it's just the truth. But it's like, it is true. It's like, I grew up taking the city bus. Right. I bought my first Bentley. I go, this is nice. I want this all the time. That's just how it was. But I realized the attention to detail, the hand stitching, a lot of those aspects that I wanted to bring into oral care to elevate the aesthetic standard and to elevate the brand standard. And you can't follow the founder of Crest or the founder of Colgate on Instagram and see how they're building the business.
It's sort of like a faceless product company. Basically it's just this, you don't know what's happening in the background. You just go pick up their products in the market. What was the first product you launched Snow with?
The first product, so I went and talked to my oral surgeon and my orthodontist at the time. I said, hey, I want to get into oral care. What can I sell? They go, well, toothpaste, you're going to need 1 million a month of orders, minimum order quantity, and it's going to be tough. They said anything medical, you're not a dentist, you can't really do. Teeth whitening, we do that in our office, and it takes up time, but it generates buzz, and patients like it. They're already there in the office. So I said, do you have to be licensed to do that? He goes, no, it's a cosmetic procedure. I go, okay. Well, I know a lot about teeth whitening as a consumer. Would you guys help me if I, did my research? I'm not going to ask for much, but just kind of lead me in the right direction. Introduce me to people that might be able to help me out here. And we were kind of already, on a friends basis because I was at the office so much, and I'm sure they were curious why this, 22-year-old showing up in a Lamborghini Wednesday at 3 p.m. and whatever. I don't know. But
by the way, how old are you now, Josh?
I'm 28.
28? Yeah, okay. That's pretty ridiculous, but keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, half my life now. I was saying that the other day, and I was like, that's true. Half of my life I've been inside of the internet. Like I've been in the Matrix for 15 years. It's kind of crazy. But I wanted, the truth is, beyond that is that I needed a big challenge. Yeah. I needed a big challenge because I had Wonder Boy syndrome. I graduated valedictorian from my high school, graduated in 2 years, top of my class from ASU Business School and the Honors College. Made my first $1 million at 17 years old. There was this kind of and it might have been artificial, maybe mostly in my head, but people would ask, like, what are you going to do next? And if I was going to say like, oh, I'm going to sell trash bags and, on the weekends, on the website, they'd freak out. They'd be like, have you lost it? They go, no. And I feel like in many ways, that's why, like, and maybe I don't know Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, but they're going to space and like nobody asked for that. And so I wonder if there's a continuation of that. So I wanted to catch that early on of like, I don't want what the expectation of me because I'm young and successful of what's going to come next. I want to think of what's next. And I thought for me, I spent a lot of time and a lot of effort in my mouth and around my mouth my whole life. It's been something that I've always thought about. I'm not a dentist, I'm not a doctor, but from a consumer standpoint, I wanted to create something that was premium, something that we would start with a teeth whitening kit. And so the first product was a kit, all in one. And I realized that there were clearly tons of whitening products. I didn't invent teeth whitening.
Right.
Been around for a long time. I didn't invent teeth whitening strips. Been around for a long time. But I felt that it was so commoditized. It felt so not sterile completely, but very kind of cold and not really connected. There's a 1-800 number on the back, but you're calling this big company somewhere. There's a 1-800 number on our website. You call, you're going to connect to someone who's going to make you laugh and smile, and you're going to make them laugh and smile. And even if you're having a bad day, we're going to take care of you. So it's a lot different. It's like a homegrown kind of traditional business in a rapid scale D2C environment. And that's exactly what I wanted. One of my mentors and someone I look up to a lot is Bruce from Discount Tire locally. And building that business one location by smiling, shaking the hand. I feel like we lost a lot of that in e-commerce. We see clicks, we see return on ad spend, we see Facebook ads instead of seeing customers or investors one by one.
Humans.
And so I taught that from the top down of picking up the phone and just call all the time in the middle of the meeting. I go, let's call them right now. And I'll just literally in the middle of a leadership meeting, I will call the customer right then and there. We'll all listen in because I never want to lose touch with who is paying our bills.
That's awesome. So you created your first kit, and how did you start selling it, and at what point did it actually, how long did it take for you to sell the first few kits, and at what point did you know that you're onto something? Because at first you're sort of like speculating that, there's no connection here between the current products that are out there and they kind of lack a soul, right? That's sort of like what you're sort of alluding to, and then you're creating a product that hopefully has a soul, but that's your sort of view on it. Right. At what point did consumers validate that, yes, you are onto something and, I'm willing to pay $100 or whatever it is you charged for your kit? And
I mean, it was a risk. I mean, initially the first version of the kit was a lot smaller. It was battery powered, and that one was $95. And I just felt like that product wasn't good enough. It wasn't, it's the MVP, you get it out. And, I built the first version of the website. I could have hired a team, right? I had exited multiple companies by the time I started Snow, but I really, really wanted to touch it. I wanted to really see from inception so I could really understand which horse I should bet more on. And I knew at a certain point, a lot of the success that I've had in my life, I've learned that I have to choose something every day. It's not always going to choose me. I'm not always going to want to choose it, but I have to force Snow into a successful existence. If I don't choose it, I'll have shiny object syndrome, things like that. We know that's how it is. So at a certain point, I have to say, okay, I need enough statistical significance or confidence that this horse is probably going to win and has the potential to do it, so that I'm willing to drop the focus on other horses to focus here for a little bit until it can kind of operate, well enough without me. And so I would say early on, I created the first version of the website, launched the first version of the ads. And, coming from media buying experience, I had that quote unquote leg up. I knew how to build a website. I knew how to work on Shopify, and I chose Shopify early on because I knew that's where the future was going, or felt the future was going that way, versus WordPress or something else. And initially, what I did is I went and looked at all the Amazon negative reviews of the top selling products and worked with the manufacturer to at least solve or alleviate some of those concerns and complaints. So is the cord long enough? Is the mouthpiece truly universal? Because if we have to have different mouthpieces, it creates complexity in the business, supply chain. So we had to kind of create, just like Tuft and Needle created one perfect mattress to start. We had to create one perfect kit that you could get whiter teeth. And the big thing for me, because I have sensitive teeth, was figuring out how do we get someone who has a wedding next week and needs snow white teeth, or at least whiter than they have, they can choose. And how do we do that in a fast period of time without causing sensitivity? So what can we add to the formula? How do we tweak the percentages of peroxide? How do we figuring those out and then learning batch by batch from customers? And the way I built this business from day one has always been very similar to a SaaS business. We have sprints. We are split testing packaging, materials. At one point, the adhesive, we were split testing the adhesive strength for our outer packaging that people throw in the trash. So that level of detail that you could apply in a software environment because you're analyzing user behavior, we try our best to analyze that in real life so that ultimately we have the best product on the market.
And that started from day one, obviously. But so, what do you think was the catalyst? So you put up the Shopify website. You start doing some of the ads and AdWords. How long did it take for the first few sales to get going, and then the first 1,000 sales, let's say the first sales, 1,000.
We got kits. A few come in, or I had a few. It was still just me, but I had a few sales coming in, and I said, "Oh, interesting." And I was angel investing at the time. I was trying to, I had just started a financial services company with my operating partner and my good friend, and I was trying to figure out what do I want to do exactly. And I had been sitting on this for a while. And so I said, you know what? I put a lot of work into this. I put a little bit of money in inventory and some research. I paid some consultants. I want to see what happens here. The first few sales came in. And then by taking the negative reviews from Amazon, working with the manufacturers, understanding what are those actual pain points. And for me, my pain point was I want whiter teeth with as little sensitivity as possible. That's it. Everybody's teeth are different. Everybody has different sensitivity levels. But I want to know that this product was, one, it's not watered down. It's a professional level treatment, but it's also not going to cause a sensitivity where I'm going to have zingers all day.
Right.
And putting that verbiage in the front. And then I started calling the customers. So every customer that came in on Shopify, with my iPhone, I called them one by one, anyone who would answer. Why'd you buy the product? What do you like about the packaging? What would you do differently?
Did you tell them you're like the founder, or?
Sometimes I would. Sometimes I would. Other times I'm like Mike from Snow, or Joe from Snow, or just so that they felt comfortable sharing honestly with me.
Right.
But sometimes I would tell them and say, or they would ask, like, "Oh, are you a part of the ownership team?" Or they would ask something like that, and I was always honest. Yes, and this is really important to me, and thank you so much for taking the time. And instead of going and hiring a research company and they do all this market research, I literally picked up the phone from someone who just gave me $100 that doesn't even know me and trusted us to give us $100. And that feedback became ad copy. And I was sitting for the next week. I called them all and I wrote down notes.
All right. I want to actually walk through it a little bit more.
Sure.
So first, how long did it take you, first of all, to build the product?
6 months, 6 to 9 months.
6 to 9 months. So during those 6 to 9 months, you're researching what needs to go into it,
trying it on myself, my friends, anyone who would try it.
And then did you have to find manufacturing partners, or did you buy stuff off the shelf and put the packaging together? What was some of that like?
I just asked my network one by one. I go, hey, do you know where people buy these type of products at? No, I don't, but I know a rep that might know someone who knows. So I literally from my dentist, middle, hands are in my mouth. I go, hey, question. Do you know where someone who sells silicone for dentistry? Oh, well, I've got a friend who works at a supplier. And then it's one. And eventually you find out who the end supplier is. That took less than a week. And if you don't know anybody, you can go on LinkedIn and do kind of the same thing. But it was finding that supplier was important. We've now switched suppliers multiple times since then. Some are still around, but I needed someone who made something similar to what I was envisioning.
Yeah.
Because I knew that they had the components to rearrange them to what I was kind of dreaming up.
And then you would work with them to sort of put together what you were sort of dreaming up.
iPhone, WhatsApp messages and Skype messages with my iPhone. And I went to the store, got different products. I would buy some makeup products, some skincare creams, and I'd be like, I like how this twists off. For example, like our gold wand, which is our top selling attachment product and refill product. We sold millions of them. That idea came from, I was at a cosmetics store, I think Blue Mercury, and I picked up this eyeliner or mascara, I think it was. I think it was an eyeliner from Dior. And it was beautiful, and it was like this brass color, and it was heavy. And on the top and bottom, it had this like embossed stamp of the Dior logo, the icon. And I said, that is absolutely exquisite. I was like, we need to apply that to our gold wands that people refill with. And so we applied that, and people noticed those touches. And so, a lot of times we're drumming up concepts from the ground up. Other times we're looking at adjacent categories and saying, wow, I love how the way that they package that, or the way that that's complemented on
Right.
design. And we'll kind of borrow those concepts and kind of make them our own and how it makes sense in our products. So it's kind of, for me, it's a lot of fun because, we get to do things that people maybe don't expect from an oral care company.
Very cool. So 6 to 9 months, you put together the product, you start selling it, and how many sales did you have, let's say, the first month?
So I took, I called the customers, I updated the website, updated the Facebook ads and Instagram ads, and I was sitting at Starbucks. I was working from Starbucks for a couple hours that day, and I said, whoa, like, something's happening here. And the first cohort of customers that I was trialing out for the first month or two started to come back and leave comments on the ads of like, here's my before and after. It really does work. It's so good. It doesn't cause sensitivity or whatever they were saying, right? And I said, wow, these are some of the customers that I talked to on the phone, and they're coming back and they're like backing me up here, and they're in the ads.
Super fans.
Yeah, like super fans. And I was like, wow, there's something going on here. And then after doing the phone calls the first time, I realized what I was doing was helping instill confidence. I was helping. It wasn't just, I want whiter teeth. It's like, I want whiter teeth for sure, but I'm single and I'm dating, or I'm recently divorced, or I'm looking for a job, or I want a promotion, or I'm in sales. It was all, or anti-aging. I want to feel and look younger, or whatever it is, right? Like, there's another reason I realized why people are buying the products. So I used those conversations to write copy from. And then I was sitting there at Starbucks and I said, let me just do an experiment. I'm going to up the budgets and just see what happens. And that day was my first $10,000 day in sales. And it was just me, a laptop, Shopify site, an MVP of the product. And that's when I realized, I said, this is on to something. I said, can I do it again? Can I do it again? Can I do it again? And we've just been growing ever since. And then I was like, I need a team, like ASAP.
Right.
Because I was like, I don't even know how I'm going to get this product out. Because I didn't know exactly how successful it would be or how quickly it would be a success. And then kind of right then and there, I decided to choose it. I said, I'm going to choose you. And I am going to.
That's going to be the focus of
That's going to be the focus. You've showed me, almost having this weird kind of talk with a business of like, hey, you're showing me, Horsey, that you got potential. I'm going to give you the good feed, and I'm going to spend a lot of time with you. And that's what I spent. I've spent the majority of my last 5 years raising what is now Snow.
Incredible story, Josh. And you've changed your last name to Snow, which
did.
is so, like, just for anybody who wants to know, your last name was Elizetxe.
Elizetxe.
Am
Yeah,
I saying that?
it.
Okay, all right, awesome. It's spelled mysteriously. There's an X in there and T in there.
Jeez.
But like, what an incredible story. And what made you change your name? I mean, I know you have a hard last name, but like, why the same name as your company?
Well,
Is that how connected you feel to this brand? That like you want it to be a representation of you?
I think that it's the highest form of public accountability, which could also be the highest form of public shame. And I feel like that,
Now your name is on everything.
My name is on it, right? And like, and I've got hundreds of thousands of followers that now follow this story, and I've done hundreds of podcasts, and I've been sharing the story, and every podcast is different because it's real time. It's like, what's going on right now? And I'm like, oh, I'm in there right now. Here's what's going on. So it's like every single one's different. But, I think that, when I think about Snow in many ways, who knows what happens 10 years from now, 50 years from now. But for me, like, as long as I'm alive, I'm going to keep fighting. And I realized that I was on this kind of pursuit of happiness. Like, okay, once I have $10 million, I'll be happy. Once I have 5 Lamborghinis, I'll be happy. Like, I was on this pursuit, and I realized that the pursuit is my happiness. Like, that's it.
Right. Not the destination.
Not destination. I was like, that. And challenge, I realized that I've always been chasing challenges because maybe it's because I grew up with some adversity and challenges, and that's how I've kind of learned to operate. Maybe it's because I really enjoy the challenge of the game. But I would say that from an entrepreneurial perspective, we're in an interesting time. Elon Musk smoking weed on Joe Rogan and his stock goes up. Like that would not be okay 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And Jeff Bezos, and these people are modern day rock stars. And the fact they're many times more popular and obviously many times more wealthy and have more power. And this is our time to shine, and the American dream is alive and kicking. And I want to be a representation of burning the boats. I want to be a real life versus virtue signaling and saying, I gave this to charity or I did this to this. And it's like, I changed my name. I put up my money into the business. I bootstrapped the first $100 million in sales, and now my team is the best in the business, and et cetera, right? Like, for me, I want to be a representation, hopefully, for accountability and sticking to something, focus. I think there's a value to it. There's a marketable value to it. So Mr. Wonderful is Kevin O'Leary, but it's Mr. Wonderful. And it's a lot easier. What I realized is that people were having difficulties sharing my name. They were having difficulties telling people about me. And if people have a hard time talking about me, they have a hard time connecting me to resources and helping me.
Right.
So that's when I realized that switching to Josh Snow, one, it just made a lot of sense. Two, it's something that I've thought about for a long period of time, but not just from the Snow, but from modifying my last name so that it's a little bit easier to live with on a day-to-day basis. And then once I got permission from my dad, he's cool with it. I said, look, I want to really show the world that you can be a David versus Goliath and you can go all the way to the finish line. And here's just one example, and I want many others to do what I'm doing. I do it because I would have loved to see someone do what I'm doing today. And I'm hoping that by putting myself out there and by being ultra vulnerable, it will make it okay for other people to do it. And so I feel like the ultimate sign of commitment, I can't marry my business. I don't, I guess I'm legally contracted.
As close as you can get. That's really good. You shared the same name, and you didn't start with your business, stealing your name. You started with the business name, and then you took the business name, which is awesome. All right, let's just before we move off of Snow, how many employees, by the way, right now?
We're just under 40.
You're doing over $100 million with 40 employees.
Under 40, but they are the best in the business, and they're like 300
I would have guessed, you said you have an 800 number or something. I would have guessed you have a call center with more than 100 people just for
but
inbound.
Nowadays you don't, we had to draw a line in the sand of, do we want to have 5,000 customer support reps and be in the customer support business particularly, or do we want to be in the Snow business and the Snow customer business and utilize existing infrastructure out there? Because customer support is pretty much processed and it's not automated, but you pretty much have, you can outsource the spillover.
Okay. So
fulfillment, you can outsource the spillover.
So there's a lot of other people who are involved in
hundreds.
Okay.
There are hundreds from attorneys, IP attorneys, trademark attorneys. I mean, everybody that touches Snow, and then my greater community. I have an army of other entrepreneurs out there all rooting for Snow that go out and say, hey, this guy's ripping you off, or hey, this is happening. And so they're kind of my army out there that over the years I built that are all advocating for Snow to succeed.
Right.
And sometimes when I have hard days, because they never go away, I'll have a hard day and I'll open up my Instagram and I'll see a couple messages from people and they'll say, keep pushing to new heights. You're my main motivation, or they'll say things like that. And these are people I don't know, and I thank them for their message. And for me, it's like that's in many ways it's like what I needed. So like I'm becoming what I needed back in the day that I didn't necessarily find in that way. And so there's a huge kind of responsibility that I just kind of made up myself.
Yeah.
That it allows me to keep going. It gives me an extra reason to keep challenging the status quo and keep disrupting and then sharing immediately. It's a high stress environment because the accountability is at the ultimate high. Everyone's seeing it. And we're not even a public company, but I'm very public in the entrepreneurial world. And everybody knows our stuff. Everybody sees everybody knows the strategies we're using because I'm on a podcast talking about them.
Right.
But it also, someone came up to me the other day and they said, hey, do you breed a lot of competition by sharing so openly? And I go, yes, in the beginning especially. Right. Now Snow's big enough, the window's closed, people know, and it's different now. But in the beginning, for sure, it was like, oh, I got to start a teeth whitening company. And so we had to literally hire a takedown team to just, go after those websites that were stealing our copy, stealing our images. But there was one thing in common, none of them were ever successful. And I think that that people realize that over time, even the greater community of, it's really not what you see above the iceberg, it's what's below the iceberg.
Right.
And I felt like I felt compelled to be one of hopefully thousands of entrepreneurs that are sharing. And I've got a TV show. I'm on a TV show launching October 19th on entrepreneur.com called Going Public.
Nice.
We document taking up to 5 founders public, ringed about NASDAQ. It's goingpublic.com. So I'm the youngest mentor on the show. It's a huge honor. Jeff Hoffman from Priceline, Jamie Schmidt from Schmidt Naturals, and Christopher Birch or Chris Birch from Tory Birch. All very much more successful than I am and very much more wise than I am. But I get to bring my flavor to the show of mentoring these amazing founders who are on the journey this year to take their company public. And the nice thing about it is that people watching can swipe up to invest. You don't have to be accredited.
Oh, nice.
So it's as little as $500, I believe. You swipe up and you can invest during the season. So it's like if you watch a Shark Tank show, let's say, for example, and you're like, wow, I really like that, that business. Usually what I do is I just go on my phone and buy the product because I was like, I want to support this entrepreneur. Like, I really like it. What if you could not just buy the product, you could buy a piece of the business right then and there.
Right.
And so that's what's cool about Going Public. And it's been a really fun experience. It's my 3rd TV show. I really love it. I love being able to share people's stories and be a part of that. And I was actually scheduled to be one of the founders, one of the 5 founders documented. And they actually came back and said, hey, we actually want you to be a mentor of the show. And that was so like, awesome. It was huge. I was like, oh man, is this a joke? I was like, I would love to. And it's been a really good experience so far.
So great. All right. So I want to move off of Snow because you also have a interesting background growing up. You mentioned that you grew up kind of poor. Talk a little bit about that and a little bit overweight, if I remember correctly, too, right? Like, so, I think your story is super inspirational, especially based on, like where you came from and where you are, which is, I have no doubt you're going to be a billionaire. So it would be super interesting to share what you can so that, others who might be listening, who might be like, well, whatever, he had connections here or there that helped them out. You didn't have those connections. You've built everything little by little, and talk about that and growing up and what that was like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always I'm always cautious around this question, not in terms of answering it, but because I want to make sure always, because I have phenomenal parents and I have a phenomenal family, and my parents just had to work a lot, like it just, and because I was the youngest sibling in my family, it meant that, I had a lot of time to spend alone as a child. And so I remember growing up, my mom would yell at me because I was mixing, potions in the kitchen, and I was product developing. I didn't know that, but I always had this knack. And my mom brought home a keyboard that was not connected to a screen or anything. We couldn't afford a computer at the time, and she just brought home a keyboard when I was maybe 8 years old or 7 years old, and I would type on the keyboard and I would transcribe the cartoons. I don't know who told me to do it. No one. I just was bored, and there was a keyboard there, and I was always fascinated watching my mom work on a typewriter. Wow. And I thought it was so cool. Like, it's loud. And so I was so fascinated by that. I was like, I have my own keyboard. And so I was starting to as I learned how to read, write, I had a keyboard. And I remember in 3rd grade, I took the typing class, and they put that orange thing on, and it blocks where you can see where you're typing. And she walks over, and she takes the thing off, looks at it,
so how do you
puts it back on, and she goes, do it again. And like, she thought I don't know if I cheated or I don't know what. So I did it again, about the same. And she's like, you type faster than most of the teachers like in the school, and like, definitely more than the 6th graders. And so I got my name put on the walls at top typing speed. Little did I know that would give me a huge advantage when I learned to program, that I could essentially think with my hands. And I remember going to Arizona State University, and that was the first time when I realized that not everybody could type like that. I always thought that was just a thing because I hung around with developers and programmers and designers, and they all knew all the shortcuts, and and that was something that for me growing up, it's the statistic for me. I went to one of the biggest public high schools, Alhambra High School in West Phoenix, and I actually loved it. Had a great time. Played football there. Was in student body there. Obviously built my first businesses while I was going to school there, but the truth is, it's in a really tough neighborhood, and it's an inner city high school, public high school. And, growing up, having 3 siblings, and, my parents were working nonstop. And so my dad's working the night shift. And so and I'm not alone. The story is repeated in a variation in 1,000 different ways. But simply for me, my dad left Spain to restart in America, making $3 an hour, putting fences up in 120-degree heat. I grew up as a kid. I knew what the mortgage was. I knew how much gas was. I knew kind of the whole situation as a young kid because I was eavesdropping all the time. And so I understood stuff like that. So, when I was 13, 14 years old, unfortunately my mom was laid off from her job. The recession had hit. And in my head, I was thinking about, what is it like to be homeless? Or like, does homeless mean that you like actually sleep in the streets? Like, these are real thoughts that I was going through at that moment. And I had this urge to get a job. I wanted to help my family out, but no one was going to hire a 13-year-old kid. So at the time, I was going to the library when I wasn't in sports because there were a lot of gangs in the neighborhood that were recruiting. And I was like 6 feet tall at 12 years old. So I was like the perfect recruit. And, so, my parents didn't want me to go through that. So they would send me off to the Phoenix Public Library, and I would stay at the Phoenix Public Library. And there was a program at the Phoenix Public Library where if you read a book, you take a test, a comprehension test, and you get points or something that you can cash in for Diamondbacks baseball tickets, a baseball, a jersey. So I said, well, I'm hanging out here. This is a competition to do. Why not? And I found out that reading the For Dummies books would get me 10 out of 10 points versus reading children's books, 1 to 2, or even the smaller books. But the Dummies books are full of pictures. They were reference books written for dummies. So I was like, I found the hack. And so, I'm reading these books, and I read Web Design for Dummies, Web Development for Dummies. Then I read it, and I go, this seems like something I could do. This seems really realistic. And so I built my first website. And back then, I don't know if it's still the same, but you swipe your card, you get 1 hour a day to use the computer with your library card. So, I built everything I have today from the Phoenix Public Library, swiping my card 1 hour a day. And then people started to get to know me. They'd come from work, and they'd be like, hey, Josh, I'm just going to check my email 5 minutes, and then you can use the rest of my time.
Oh, wow.
And so I'd pick up from where I was, and I was kind of like, picking up hours here and there. And then one day I got a message from someone that said, hey, we got iPhone accessories for the new iPhone that's coming out. We would love to advertise on your blog for $400. And that was where I realized, well, wait a second, I'm making these little blogs with fake names and I'm just creating content. I don't even know what I'm doing. And it turns out that $400 was $400 a month, and they were sponsoring. And I used that, and me and my dad went to Fry's Electronics, and I had enough money to get the tower, but not the monitor. And he said, don't worry, we'll come back and we'll get that monitor, don't worry. And I went home, I flipped my mom's clothes basket over, 2 of them, and I put the monitor on once I got it, put the tower, I flipped the waste basket over, put the mouse on it, and I was ready to go. And then I said, hey, Dad, I'll split the internet with you if you want for Cox. We didn't have internet. And now I wasn't limited to an hour a day. And a couple of years later, I made $1 million. I was a millionaire.
That's incredible. Holy cow. Wow.
It was a journey for sure. It still is. But man, that was, if I could have just went back in time and told little old Josh, everything's going to be okay. You're going to get everything that you dream of, everything that you think of, you know, and I wouldn't do anything differently entirely. I mean, there's certain areas, but I didn't know better. I didn't know, my family didn't know what I was doing at the time. They was like, I hope it's legal. Like, you know, I don't know what's going on here, but I wanted something better for my family. I wanted something better for our name, and, you know, not just our last name, but for our family to be proud of. And being the youngest in my family, I had to go to college. I had to graduate summa cum laude. I had to graduate valedictorian, because that's what I felt like I had to make up for my brothers and sisters that didn't have the opportunity. And I was given the opportunity because I'm the youngest. My brother was recruited into a gang, and that went bad for a few years. They shielded me a lot from those things growing up in that neighborhood. So I said, out of honor at the very least, I must show them that a Hispanic poor kid from the West Phoenix can build $1 billion business with $100 in a public library.
Incredible. What a fascinating journey. One of the things that you mentioned is that you sort of like learned how to hack various different things, and then you started looking at the various problems that you encounter in life as a hacking opportunity. So you're a little overweight. You're like, well, how do I hack this overweight issue, right? And like, I love that perspective of looking at things. How do you have examples of things that you've done where you're like, I'm gonna that's not necessarily business related? Go for it.
So the way I read, I've always been this way. I think ultimately, I'm a really good procrastinator, and I think I'm actually pretty lazy, which means that I have to spend a lot of time thinking about the model. Like the net has to be really strong and good, because I'm not good at fishing, right? So like, that means that I have to go sometimes without eating to build the net, and I've kind of figured that out about myself, but I enjoy it. So for example, you know, I mentioned the school thing. You know, graduating half the time meant that I graduated with half the cost effectively. And it also allowed me to get back into my business right at 20 years old instead of 22 or 23. Those 2 or 3 years are worth millions of dollars. And so working with the advisors and really becoming friends with a lot of them and just hanging out with them, utilizing resources on campus like the Writing Center, free, Tutoring Center, free. Well, it turns out if you're stuck on something, they'll help you out for free. And so what I realized was that right after class, I'd go straight to the Writing Center. And instead of just waiting for them to proofread at the very end, I would create a brainstorming discussion, just like I would in business.
Right.
You know, what's the protagonist going to be involved in? Well, what about this? Or what if they did this? And so together, by asking for help, which I wasn't good in doing, that allowed me to expedite my path in college. And I would say that I'm always looking for example, I mean, Snow on its own, the fact of taking oral care and bringing this type of view to it and celebrities and all of this is really an attempt for me to cut some time. And then in life, the way I read is I get the hardcover book if I can get it, or the soft cover, but I like to have something physical. And then I have my AirPods in, and I've got Audible, and I've got it at 2 times speed. I can do that, you know, sometimes I do 1.5 if it's technical, or 1.25. But then I can I can skim the book with my pen as it's reading to me at 2 times speed.
So you actually use the physical book too at the same time as
I
listening
like
to
it.
it.
I love a good hardcover. I love how they smell. I love how they feel. It reminds me of, I used to read a lot of hardcover books, and it just, I don't know, something, maybe it's just me, but I like having the hardcover book. I like having a pen to track. I've taken so many speed reading courses. The one thing I've taken back is that works for me is tracking with a pen or some type of pointer. Keeps me focused. 2 times speed keeps my mind from thinking about the email that I need to send later.
Yeah.
So
I find the same is true, that like listening
do you do that?
at
Like
faster
podcasts
speed
and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At 1.5 it allows me not to start wandering.
Yeah.
My mind starts wandering at 1.0. It's just too slow. Even I'm too slow when I listen to my own podcast.
I listen to my own stuff fast too. When
Yeah.
I'm like reviewing stuff, I listen at like 2 times speed.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. But the idea that I think that's a really good hack. I might have to steal it, which is to actually use the physical book too, because that allows you to stay extra focused on the subject.
you can write notes. I usually, what I do on the plane is I'll have my book, the hardcover book. I'll have a blank little notepad with a nice pen. The pen I'm using to track. I've got my AirPods in, so it's reading to me. And then I can put stars if I want to come back to something. I can pause it and then put the learning, or maybe that gave me an idea for our campaign meeting Monday. So I'll write that down and I'll go back to it. But then I don't have to work as hard. I don't have, what page was I on? What's going on?
Yeah.
I just can focus on one thing. And I've been able to tear through 3-4 books on a flight to New York. I mean, like, I can tear through things so quickly. And ultimately, we end up distilling the best stuff that is applicable to us, generally because of relevance and timeliness. So I'm not going to absorb an entire book regardless. So if I can absorb more books, if I can absorb 10% of 10 times the books versus 20% of the same amount of books, I will take that.
Right.
And so that's where I kind of learned to forgive myself. If I stop liking a book, I just set it aside. I don't feel bad.
Yeah.
I'll read 2 pages in, or I'll just, one chapter that's relevant to me now. So I would say that hack has probably allowed me to, expedite my acquisition of knowledge, and specific knowledge as well. Because when I'm going into a specific industry, whether it's, for example, our subscription business, I'm reading a lot about loyalty, retention, customer experience, and I need to absorb that quickly, and I don't have a lot of time. So planes are usually, like, when I'm on a plane, it's usually a good time for me.
Planes are super productive.
I love planes.
Because Wi-Fi is terrible on them.
I know.
Which goes to show you how freaking distracting the internet is.
I know.
It's incredible. One thing I think I forgot to ask you when we were on Snow is you have a lot of celebrity endorsements of Snow. How did you go about getting those endorsements? Do you just go through their normal channels of, look up where they want you to contact their business acquaintances or whatever, or did you contact them directly? Or are you sending them products? What is the best way of getting celebrity endorsements?
all of them, because it's celebrity deals, especially like A-list celebrity deals, they take a long time. Timing super important. If they're filming a Netflix special, their price is going to go up and it's going to be harder to get a hold of them. So they're very celebrity deals make a lot of noise, but they don't always kind of deliver on the signals. And everybody's really intrigued by them. And don't get me wrong, people buy from who they like or trust. If you're a new brand and you have people who they like or trust, obviously that's why word of mouth marketing works, referral marketing works. So it's extremely powerful. I would say today we do a myriad of all of that. In the very beginning, I started the business, started getting traction with it, started to build a team around it. And then I got a call from a friend of mine that says, hey, we're filming a show called MVP in LA. It's a Shark Tank-like spinoff with, instead of business entrepreneurs on the panel, it's famous football players, basketball players. And instead of cash, they're going to promote the brand on social media and all this stuff. And so I thought the concept was really unique. And I said, do you think Snow would, be good for it? It's one of my newer companies, but I'm, really putting a lot into it. I think it would be great. She said, well, I think so. Let me pitch it, but would you be able to come next week? And I was like, what time next week? Tuesday. It was Friday. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I showed up to the studio and waited in the green room for like 10 hours. I was literally the last one to go on. And the call time was like 7 a.m. So I'm like at 7 a.m., drinking Red Bull, coffee, hydrating. By the end, I just wanted to go home. I was like at this point, I was like, I'm so tired. I just want to go home. But luckily I didn't, and went on and got all the judges in on the deal. And it was the biggest deal in the show history. It's the second season, but a great show actually. And that's where I met Rob Gronkowski and Chuck Liddell, amongst others. But Rob Gronkowski, he said, look, I've never whitened my teeth. You say in 21 days I'll have whiter teeth and I won't have all that sensitivity. I said, give it a shot. He goes, if this works, I'll give you a call. And so he ended up calling. Chuck Liddell right away is like, I'm the Iceman. Snow makes a lot of sense. My wife spends a lot of money on teeth whitening. It's like a mouthpiece like I used when I used to fight, So he was like in from the very beginning. And that immediately allowed me to utilize that and be able to kind of build around that. It's like, hey, we're a celebrity-owned company now.
Right.
We need to act like one. Our products need to look like them. And I think the second piece to that was that because that happened pretty early on, it allowed us to attract more celebrities. The truth is, if a good agent is prospecting deals for their client and they see that your brand is doing a few deals, like they might contact you. They're going to contact you and they're going to say, well, these guys know how to work with celebrities. They have money to spend. Let me go and talk to them. And so now I've got an agent network of, agent partners who are saying, hey, do you want so-and-so? I'm meeting with them for lunch next week. And then I go, oh, maybe not for Snow, but maybe for one of my other companies, or maybe for one of my mastermind members' companies. And so by transacting, millions of dollars now at this point through agents, I kind of have a little bit of like a check mark that, okay, Josh is good. He pays his bills. He says he does what he says. He's going to protect the celebrity. So you kind of earn your spot there over time. But if you want it, the easiest way is cash. I mean, you can get anyone you want if you have the cash. I mean, I can help you do it. You can pretty much get anyone if you're willing to spend millions of dollars. Or it's really more about finding the right partners who the agents understand the business. We always send product. As soon as we start the conversation, we go, please give it to your client. We really want them to like the product. Be a customer because especially nowadays, the customer can see right through that. I can see right through it, obviously, as a marketer, but the customer can see right through something that's not, at least attempted to be as genuine as possible. And it could be genuine, but the way it's portrayed is not genuine.
Right.
So we're really, really conscious of that because we have millions of followers that are watching us. We want to make sure we're doing the best that we can of what they would expect for us to do.
Yeah.
So.
No, that makes sense. Amazing conversation. Anything else you want to talk about that you want to throw out there? What's next? If you weren't doing Snow, what would you be doing?
Investing and advising other great entrepreneurs.
Oh, yeah.
I think that I want to do that. I do that, through Powerhouse, and my team there. But it would probably still probably be TV. I think maybe a concept of my own. A TV show, maybe highlighting minority entrepreneurs throughout the United States and kind of going and visiting with them and helping them grow their business live on the show and bringing some celebrity guests.
Right.
And then making as much money as I can so I can give it to other entrepreneurs who are much better at doing what I do even. I really love working with the community on the foundation side, helping the underserved get access to higher level education, whether that's college, university, trade schools, coding boot camps, whatever it might be. I believe that's the biggest opportunity we have today in America is making sure one out of two children 10 years from now would be born Hispanic, right? And it's 1 out of 3 today. And a lot of communities don't have their food deserts, school deserts, education deserts, opportunity deserts. And so I feel like America as a business, and I'm not a politician, but my thought on it is we are underutilizing our most important asset, which is intellectual capital. We're indirectly handicapping our greatest potential. And when you look at the S&P 500 or you look at, some of the most successful businesses and what percentage are started by immigrants or first generation, you start to see the numbers are staggering. And what happens if, for me, I started my business at 13 and, in many ways got lucky because of the timing and a lot of things. But, how many other of my friends even could be rocket scientists, could be neurosurgeons, could be working on cancer research. But because there's an inefficiency in the market, there's a lack of that. And so that's something that keeps me up at night. And then on the business side, I believe right now, when I invest in other entrepreneurs, when I share whatever I can with them, there's a multiplier effect, and they're creating hopefully more jobs, more opportunity, and they're sharing that with others. And so right now I get a lot of joy out of the multiplier effect with the high school students, because they go on to become community leaders, and a lot of joy working with other entrepreneurs and helping them solve problems, helping them exit their businesses, helping them go public, helping them realize life-changing money so that hopefully they can give it away and reinvest it and obviously take care of their family. So I'm really excited about this multiplier effect.
Are there companies or entrepreneurs or founders you've invested in that you're super excited about right now?
Yeah, I just closed an investment in Guestio. Guestio is a podcast. You can book celebrities to be on your podcast. You can book authors. So it's kind of like a marketplace to book interesting people for your podcast. So there's a great advisory team there. I invested in that business.
Is that Arizona based or?
No, they're not. I think they're based in California.
Okay.
So Guestio is great. Just closed an investment in MediaKits.com, and MediaKits is kind of like a LinkedIn for influencers. So allows brands to discover influencers on the platform, pay them on there. They're coming out with the world's first influencer bank account. So, and you get banking products based on your influencer score, which is like how long you've been on the platform, are you verified, how many followers do you have, the interconnectivity of trust amongst members. So mortgage, because a lot of times, like I have friends that make $1 million a month in TikTok ads or whatever, Snapchat ads, but they have a credit score of 510. So and it runs the gamut, right? From someone making $1,000 a month or $5,000 or $10,000 a month, a full-time $100,000 a year salary from their YouTube, but they have a credit score of 510. Why can't that person get approved for a lease on a car or something, or a business working capital, but they have no hard assets?
Right.
So I think that there's a lot of opportunity in the underbanked, and I believe that influencers are there. So MediaKits is working on helping influencers and kind of solving that problem. So those are two recent ones, but I'm always on the look for SaaS ecosystem, e-commerce ecosystem, subscription e-commerce companies, great brands, unique products, patented things like that I could leverage my distribution platform on.
That's awesome. Are you going to Invest Southwest? I think that's happening in 2 weeks.
Isn't that in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
I should be here.
Yeah, let's
yeah, I would love to.
I sit on the board there.
I know.
So, yeah.
I know. I would love to. Yeah, it's been. What was the deal last year? Was it virtual?
I think. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention because I was selling my company last year. So I was like.
Also, there was a global pandemic that was blowing up in front of our face. So, congrats on that, by the way.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
It. Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, I would love to. If I'm in town, I'm there.
Oh, awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for giving your time, man. It's been a pleasure.
3 questions?
Yeah, go for it, AJ.
Go ahead. Of course.
Okay, my 3 questions. What does your day look like? Like, what is your morning routine? What does your day look like?
Ooh.
What do you do for fun? And how do you manage work-life balance?
Can I ask you to like turn down the air so that you don't like completely kill us for better audio here?
Oh yeah.
So, what does your day look like? What do you do for fun? And work-life balance? Yeah.
I spent some time really thinking about work-life balance, and it really is a thing. Burnout is really a thing. Stress, all of that, right? And I'm careful to watch my tolerance level. I think working hard and I'm addicted to the joy of achievement. It's an addiction. And I build a tolerance to a certain level of workload, to a certain level of stress that is probably not humane, but because it's constant, it becomes status quo, and anything other than that becomes erratic.
Right.
So, which is like crazy and toxic, obviously. but I figured it out, and I said, you know what? I have no aspirations right now to golf. I have no aspirations to do anything other than, some of the things I do for fun. I love traveling. I love trying new food. I'm still a fat boy at heart. I love to eat and I love to try new things. I love live music, concerts. I love amateur live music, just anywhere I can get it. And I think from a work-life balance perspective, this is my sport. And, I don't really watch football as much as I used to. I don't even watch basketball as much as I used to for years now. I'm still a huge fan and all that, and I keep up how I can, but this is what I love to do, and this is my sport, and I've kind of given myself the ability to realize that, I am the architect of these businesses, and I must build them so that I am continually challenged, but also continually interested so that I don't lose interest, because that's where the company could really turn a corner, especially when it's younger. So right now I've decided, work-life balance. Right now, my day looks like, right now I'm waking up super early for some reason. When I'm on to something, I can't sleep. And so I just wake up and I'm just immediately back on my computer. And so it's kind of fun because I feel young, or I feel like, I feel hungry, like hungrier than ever. I feel, and it's not a money motivation anymore. That's what's so cool about it. And that's why I want to help so many entrepreneurs get their nest egg and kind of set that up so you can think much more abundantly and bigger. And so for me, it's really, really fun. It's like I'm a kid and I've got like Super Mario, the new Super Marios, and I want to wake up in the morning and play it all day.
Right.
But luckily I have a phenomenal team. Every business I have has incredible, incredible teams, which allows me today on the Snow side, I'm in the office 2 days a week. I'm always working, obviously, but I'm in the office Tuesdays and Thursdays. And, we've got a small but incredible, mighty team, and it's growing. But I wanted to build a business that, one, doesn't rely solely on me, and two, that I could go to the office 2 days a week and that it was set up to be that way. And that's one of the things I urge entrepreneurs to give themselves the permission to build a business the way they want to. And a lot of times, ends up being just as successful, if not more, without having to do that. And I graduated in 2 years from university, and I only went to school Tuesday, Thursdays. So that's just kind of what I'm used to.
That is awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. I feel like every time I meet you and chat with you, I get more inspired to do something, especially on the consumer side, because even your past businesses have all been sort of consumer oriented, and I always get ideas. It's always fun.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome to our event, our Powerhouse event. It's November 3rd and 4th in Austin, Texas. And we have some of the most, some of our friends who are the most incredible, my business partner, Lala Anthony, who's Kim Kardashian's best friend. She's a, huge, huge success, and she's speaking. And then our buddy AJ just sold his business for $610 million. It's public info, which was an Amazon-focused business, and he's got 5 more. And so he's going to be speaking. He doesn't speak anywhere. And so we asked some of our friends to come and speak about also investing.
Tell me more about this conference. What is? Where do I find out more about?
PowerhouseBrandsLive.com. So PowerhouseBrandsLive.com.
Okay.
It's November 3rd and 4th in Austin, and everyone's really invited, and you're invited as my guest. And if you're able to make it out even for a day, you'll immediately meet the movers and shakers in the e-commerce and e-commerce SaaS world. So I'm an investor in the e-commerce ecosystem, which I think with your experience, you're going to get right away. And I think it would be cool at least for you to see how much you really do get all this stuff.
That's
you'll
awesome.
Love it.
This looks fantastic. I'd love to go.
I'd love to have you.
Yeah. Very
Thanks,
cool.
Hamid.
Well,
Appreciate
thank you very
brother.
much, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure. All right. You made it to the end of the episode. I would love to get your feedback, so take a moment to leave a genuine review in your favorite podcast app. That also helps us reach more people. Speaking of reach, if you like a particular episode, be sure to share it with someone who you think would enjoy it. See you next time.